What do you gunfighters think about a feel-good story today? A feel-good story in the gun industry, in the gun sphere. I think that'd be a nice change of pace from all the bad news. This political thing is trying to take this right away, and the gun industry trying to play you. You got to have this new hot caliber if you want to kill an elk. Nobody's ever killed an elk inside of 300 yards. If you want to kill an elk, you got to have this new hot caliber and this new expensive optic and this new model of rifle and the conspiracy of big camo. If you want to take an animal this year, then you have to get the new camo pattern, because if the deer see you in the camo pattern that hunters wore last year, they're going to laugh at you. Or, what you need to prevail in a violent armed altercation? It's not practice, it's not training. It's you need to buy this next widget, this next thing, this next hot new accessory that's going to go on your gun, or buy a whole new gun altogether, even better. There's enough of that out there. That's why I try and stay away from it on this podcast. Today we're going to talk about a feel-good story. How far we've come in the world of concealed carry in the past, let's say 15 years. It's a good story. That's what we're going to talk about today on Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics. Today, the state of concealed carry in 2024. The right way with Almighty God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. I'm blessed to serve you as host today. I'm going to put in the bio, and then we'll get into the main topic. I'll roll into a quick abbreviated bio and then into the main topic. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I don't apologize for that. God is number one in my life. I grew up hunting and fishing in the backwoods of the southeastern United States at a very early age. Some of my earliest memories are with firearms. I joined the Marine Corps at 17, did a couple of combat tours in Iraq. By God's grace, He got me through that safely. After that, I served as an instructor, an urban warfare instructor and a desert warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps. I also served with the LAPD, both full-time as a sworn police officer and in some more specialized assignments, as well as serving in the U.S. Army, full-time and part-time National Guard. I've been a FBI firearms instructor, still am an FBI firearms instructor, have been for a lot of years, also NRA certified and some other 3-letter government agency certified. I've been a private contractor for a 3-letter government agency I won't specify. I've been the commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area. By God's grace, He got me through all that in one piece, not because I'm better, but because He chose to have grace and mercy on me. I've been a professional hunter and guide. Professionally hunted things like buffalo and elk. Not many people today can say they've done that, but I'm blessed to be able to say that I have. I've hunted everything from white-tailed deer on the East Coast to mule deer on the West Coast to gray squirrel on the East Coast to prairie dog on the West Coast, and elk and bear and wolf, and slain all manner of beast. A state rifle and pistol champion a few times over in a few different disciplines. Now those experiences, it's not because I'm bigger or badder, certainly not bigger. In fact, I met one of the patrons in real life and he said something to the effect of, "I thought you'd be bigger." Reminded me of that William Wallace movie where he's like, "Oh yeah, if William Wallace were here, he'd shoot lightning bolts out of his rear end." Well, I'm not William Wallace, but I am the person that did all those things in the bio. But not because I'm bigger or badder. I don't think that I survived when many other young, good men did not. I give all the glory and all the credit to God, all the talents and experiences that He's given me and the things that He's let me live through. I hope to use them to glorify God and to help you today. So if I boast in anything, it's not in my strength, it's in that God had mercy on me and saved me because he had a purpose for me. And hopefully I can use those talents, skills, and abilities to serve you today. Let's talk about the state of concealed carry. I think a feel-good story, a feel-good thing to talk about. Often we reminisce about the good old days. The good old days, when a working man could work a blue-collar job and provide for his whole family and buy a brand new car off the assembly line without going into debt. The good old days when women wore red and white plaid checkered skirts and drank malt milkshakes from a soda jerk. The good old days of America with apple pie and people knowing what gender they were. The good old days. But when we talk about concealed carry, really, right now is the good old days. Right now is a fantastic time for concealed carry. If you count my time as an urban warfare instructor, which I wouldn't for this, going just shy of 20 years as a professional firearms instructor. When I really started teaching, other than military, was a little bit later, but still a long time teaching, and a long time teaching concealed carry. And when I first started teaching that, when I look back, we've come so far. If you look back at the concealed carry, well, let's start with the just concealed carry being a thing. You go back, 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of states didn't even have concealed carry. Period. Let alone constitutional carry. Let alone, the vast majority of states now have a shall issue system. Some have a may issue, but almost every state has the ability to get a concealed carry permit. My nephew, whom I love, but sadly lives in Maryland, which is one of the most infringy states in the union. Even he has a concealed carry permit, which I applaud him for. Not easy to get, but he has one. That tells you how far we've come in the state of concealed carry. This is an audio format, so it wouldn't really translate well if I just sat there and read off states. But there's a map you can look up that's like an interactive video map that shows the advancement of concealed carry across the nation. And if you're new, if you've just gotten into this world in the past 5 years, it may not strike you. But when you step back and look at how far we've come in say 15 years, which is the blink of an eye in, even the history of our fairly short-lived nation, how far concealed carry has come. I think we have a long way to go. I think that the question should not be, can I carry? I think the question should be, if you're an adult male, is there a reason why you should not be armed right now and well-regulated, meaning well-trained? Is there a reason why you shouldn't be well-trained and well-armed as a man, period? That should be the default, not should I carry a gun. It's like, is there a legit reason why I should not carry a gun? I think that should be the default, but we've come so far. Look at how many places, how many states offer concealed carry. Look at how many places have constitutional carry, which I would argue should be the default, right? It should be just it. It should just be constitutional carry. But open carry, concealed carry, the state of carry in general is so far ahead. Now, we've had some legislative setbacks in recent times as far as gun stuff goes, but that's a huge victory. So I think it's okay from time to time, so we don't get jaded, to look at how far we've come in the world of carry. The right to carry, the ability to carry. And another huge thing, and I wanted to talk about this second because it's of secondary importance, because the coolest guns in the world don't do you any good if you don't have them on you, right? Probably not going to get mugged at a 7-Eleven at 3 o'clock in the morning or, 8 o'clock at night the stop and robs, as we used to call them when I was a cop. You're not going to be like, oh, wait, I have this really cool gun in my safe. Let me run home, Mr. Bad Guy. Hold that crowbar above your head. Let me run home. Hopefully I remember the combination to my safe, and hopefully the battery's not dead if I have one of those new electronic ones. And let me come back. Give me a rain check, and I'll be back to take care of you with that crowbar. No, the gun that you have on you. So the ability to carry and the willingness to carry and the training you have at the time with the gun that's on you is what's important. So I wanted to start there. But there are so many more options than there was. Again, when I started, as a firearms instructor, it was, and there was more than this, right? There was always the niche thing and the guy chasing the new thing, and you might have a guy carrying like an AMT or something, but in general, there wasn't a lot of options for concealed carry guns. Nowhere near what there are today. Common carry guns were Smith & Wesson J-frame, of which was my first concealed carry gun, of which I still have. There was the Walther PPK. Not a lot of guys actually carried those. There was kind of the cheap Makarov, which is a small enough gun to carry, and those were fairly cheap and affordable back in the day. There was also, the Car, which wasn't real common, Car with a K. There was, the Colt Defender and the smaller 1911s. There's nowhere near the amount of different manufacturers that made a 1911. Back then it was Colt. Springfield made some. I'm not a big fan of any handgun Springfield makes. There was the Kimbers and stuff, but there was nowhere near the amount of manufacturers of just 1911s, let alone carry guns. The whole, which I'm not a big fan of anyway, but the whole genre of micro nines, which, again, marketing, gotta have a micro nine or you're wrong, whatever. But that whole genre didn't even exist. Right? I remember when, and I don't use the term game changer lightly, but I remember when the M&P Shield came on the market, which was in my opinion, the first common, readily available that you saw, on people as a carry gun, commonly compact or subcompact 9mm. It was slim, it was sleek, it had good ergonomics, it got the job done. It was a good, shootable, small 9mm, which I would consider the smallest of a full fighting caliber. That was, again, kind of a game changer, the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. I remember when that thing was just coming on the market. I remember when that thing was released, and I was teaching concealed carry. And it was a popular gun. Even back then, I generally carried a full-size fighting handgun. I know most people don't. Most people don't carry a full-size fighting handgun. There was plenty of those back then. Not nearly as many as there are today. You wanted a striker fire, and this is not exclusive, but it was a Glock, and then the Smith & Wesson M&P came out. But it wasn't a lot. Now, you can barely throw a rock without hitting a new polymer striker-fired handgun. There are so many. So many more options. So many more. Just look at micro nines. There's a whole list of micro nines. Not to mention all kinds of other things. Not to mention really good holsters. Probably if you get all but the most obscure guns, you could go on Amazon, which back then sold books, right? And you can order a decent Kydex holster. You can order decent magazine pouches. Your option isn't an $80 Safari Land that's probably way too big for carry, or a Black Hawk Serpa, because those are probably your options 10, 15 years ago, or really getting a custom maker, which weren't around every street corner like they are today. Those were your options back then. There's so many good options for good carry guns, good carry holsters, good magazine holders, good EDC flashlights, all that stuff, right? These are the good old days for concealed carry. I hope it continues to get better and better. I hope that all 50 states are constitutional carry states. Heck, I'd like to see a tax break for men that carried. I don't know how you'd enforce that, but I'm just saying, I'm all for more. But right now is the good old days of this, right? I hope it continues, But it is a great time for concealed carry, especially. So many good things on the market. The options right now is not like, can I find a good concealed carry handgun? It's like analysis paralysis. Like, which concealed carry handgun do I get? Because there are so many good ones. So many. And there's a lot of good trainers. I'm saddened that we spent 20 years at war in GWAT, of which I was a part, of which I went and fought for this nation. And I trained a lot of people to go and fight for this nation, for the GWAT, the Global War on Terror. But 20 years of literal combat experience means that you have a lot of people with actual real-world first-hand experience, which I would caution you to look at. If you're looking at firearms instruction, if you just want somebody to show you the basics, find somebody that's good at the basics. If you want somebody to instruct you on combat, maybe get somebody that has that kind of background and experience. Just a brief aside, one of the things that irked me, I was a professional firearms instructor for one of the largest firearms training schools in the nation. By that measure, probably in the world. And I taught there. And they kind of had a literal script that you would read off. And one thing that irked me was one of the lines they said were like, when you're in a gunfight. And it would literally be like some soccer mom that was a teacher that was retired that was there, was like, when you're in a gunfight. When you know that those people were not in a gunfight. Like, that just bothered me. There's nothing wrong with a soccer mom teaching you how to shoot if she knows how to shoot. But don't say what to do. Don't be fronting, as they used to say back in the day, like you're a gunfighter if you've never been in a violent altercation, if you've never used a gun on the street. Don't pretend to be that. But there is a lot talking about experience. 20 years of war fighting has left you a lot of options for a lot of people that know a lot of things that can pass them on. That is a great, great asset. And I don't want there to be 20 more years of war. So, again, this is the good old days. Find a trainer, find an instructor. There are so many good ones. Do some vetting, but there are so many good instructors with real-world first-hand experience that can teach you what you need to know if you're willing to get the training and listen and be open to it. There's so many. Again, it's the good old days. It's the good old days. So, with all the craziness in the world, with all the, advertising screaming down your throat, buy this. You got to be cool. You got to buy this. You got to buy the cool black multicam. You got to get this cool new holster. Carrying 3 o'clock OWB is so last year. You got to carry appendix. Whatever. You don't. Do what you want. But just take a breather and realize we're in the good old days. This is a great time to be a well-regulated, well-prepared American citizen. So don't always focus on the bad stuff. That's a really good thing. And that's mostly what I wanted to drive home today, that it's a good time. It's a good time for that, for so many reasons. The amount of places that allow carry, the amount of good gear that's available, the amount of good instruction that's available, the availability of ammo, because we've lived through ammo shortages recently, a couple of really big ammo shortages recently in that time frame. But right now, ammo is available. Maybe not as cheap as it used to be, but that's inflation. Eggs aren't as cheap as they used to be. Gasoline's not as cheap as it used to be, but ammunition is readily available. It's the good old days. Get a good carry setup. Seek out some good professional training. Get a case of ammo shipped to your house. Get out there and get after it. These are the good old days. Enjoy them. Tactical tip of the day. There's also really big advancements in defensive handgun ammunition technology in a lot of ways, especially bullet construction. Take advantage of that too. Tactical tip of the day. There's a lot of really good street-proven rounds. And I'm not sponsored by, I refuse to take sponsors because I don't want to be another one of those drug dealers for guns and companies and be like, you got to have this. But there are many good ones. Spear Gold Dot, Winchester Ranger Tees, Hornady, Critical Duty, Critical Defense, Remington, Golden Saber, Federal HSTs. right? There's a lot of really good rounds with really good proven street cred. Find one that feeds in your gun. Don't just assume that it does. Ask me how I know. But find a good setup and find a good street-proven round that will expand out of your length of barrel, shoots to your point of aim, point of impact, and has really good street cred, because there's a lot of them. I just named off some, not all, some really good options. Take advantage of that too. Make sure it's reliable out of your gun. Make sure it shoots the same point of aim, point of impact. Make sure it expands out of your barrel length and your velocities. Do your own homework. Don't cheat off somebody else's test, because there's no guarantee it's going to work that way for you. But take advantage of that really good bullet technology and street, credibility that's out there. Your tactical verse of the day. Rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.